Hello, my name's Caden on Ninjago and more, and today I'm going to be going over 5 elemental masters from Ninjago that you've probably never heard of. So we're going to go from left to right, starting with an elemental master who a lot of you probably are familiar with, leading all the way up to this elemental master who I bet most of you have never even heard of. So let's start off with Zarkar. So out of all the elemental masters in this video, I would say that Zarkar is definitely the most relevant by a mile. That is because as of Dragon's Rising Season 2 Part 2, we have seen him in flashbacks. In the flashback, it wasn't revealed that he was an elemental master, and you did kind of have to wait until seeing his portrait in the Temple City Museum in the Hall of Winners. So because of that, because you have to kind of put the pieces together to figure out that he is an elemental master. Not everyone knows he's an elemental master, and when I've had him in videos showing off all my elemental master figures, I have had quite a few comments of people asking why Raz is there, but this is not Raz, this is my custom Zarkar. So what happened to his power? What was his power? We don't know. Could Raz be an elemental master? Could someone else have gotten this power, leaving Raz jealous? We literally have no idea what happened to Zarkar's powers or what his powers are. My theory is that Raz does have Zarkar's powers, which would make Raz an elemental master, of course, but that's not confirmed yet, so for all we know, Raz is not an elemental master. But yeah, Zarkar, very, very cool character, very mysterious. I can't wait to find out more about him. I do think Raz has got Zarkar's power, and I think it probably is the elemental power of strength or rage. They are my guesses, so I guess we'll wait, and if any of those come true in the show, then we can come back to this video, and yeah. But yeah, there's my custom Zarkar, and like I said, a lot of you probably are familiar with Zarkar, but I bet not as many of you are familiar with this girl. Now, I don't know what her name is. No one does. No one knows what her power is. It's probably something similar to nature, judging from her design. She was revealed on the Strike of the Serpentine comic that is coming out in February. We see her in the cover alongside other elemental masters, so it is very, very safe to assume that she herself is an elemental master. This is my custom figure of her. I've seen quite a few people make customs of her, but none of them, in my opinion, of course I'm going to be a bit biased, but in my opinion, none of the customs have quite been as good as this one. I spent a lot of time trying to find the pieces for her, so I'm very, very proud of this custom. So yeah, a presumably former Master of Nature who fought in the Elemental Alliance alongside Ray, Maya, the former Master of Ice, all those people who we saw in Season 4 and Season 7. Why she wasn't shown in those flashbacks, we don't know. Well, we do know it was probably because they didn't have the budget to create new elemental masters for every power, but she will be in the comic, which means she will be canon to the show. And yeah, here she is. So again, she's not very well known by people because she was only ever shown on the cover of a book. So this is for kind of, Ninjago fans, because if you're watching this video, there's a chance you're like me and you're a Ninjago fanatic, you keep up with Doc Wyatt's Blue Sky, you watch all the shorts and whatnot, but you have to remember there are Ninjago fans who will just watch the show once and that is it. Not everyone is obsessed with Ninjago as we are, and that is why things like Zarkar being an elemental master might go over people's heads. People might not have seen the leak of the Strike of the Serpentine book, and people won't know about her. So, of course, I'm aware that a lot of people will probably know about her, but for the people who don't, here she is. Next up, we have Acer. Now, this is getting into the kind of obscure pieces of Ninjago lore. This character is from the Shatterspin comic, and he was revealed to be an elemental master. Now, his power is unknown, and the rules around it are kind of a bit murky, because they say to strike the Gong of Shattering, you have to have an elemental power, and then they show Acer striking the gong, which therefore says, implies that he has an elemental power. But then in the show, we see random wolf mask warriors striking the gong, which means you don't need to be an elemental master to strike the gong. So it's a little bit confusing, but the comic, the Shatterspin comic, really strongly implies that Acer is an elemental master, so here he is. This is, of course, a custom minifig. I'm pretty proud of it, although I know you probably could do a slightly better job. But I'm probably not going to change this anytime soon. This custom minifig only actually got built up yesterday. The pieces for him came in the mail yesterday, and that is kind of what inspired this video. He has the Monkey Kid face there, so I'm sure if you're interested in making this custom, you can probably find where all these pieces came from. But yeah, Acer is a child of the Wolf Clan. He is from the realm of the wildness, so this is one of few elemental masters who come from a different realm. Oh, same as Zarkar, actually, isn't he? These are both elemental masters from the wildness. Could they have the same power? Who knows? Probably not. Next up, we have the super obscure characters. Does anyone even know who this guy is? This is the first ever Master of Amber, so a very, very, very distant relative of Skylar. This guy is the person who created the element of Amber. This figure is technically a custom figure, however, it uses the exact pieces that LEGO used for him in their mini comic series. So technically it's a custom minifig, but technically it's not, if that makes any sense. But yeah, this guy is the first ever Master of Amber. He was envious of other elemental masters. He was jealous of their powers. So he went to an ancient crooked tree, which was infused with Source Dragon energy, and using Chrono Steel and his blacksmithing abilities, he somehow did something which resulted in him becoming the first ever Master of Amber. So yeah, this is a pretty cool figure. Of course, the design is not mine. It is taken straight off of Lego.com, where they revealed this guy's backstory. I think it was in like a mini-series in 2022. I have no idea, to be honest. I don't really care about it. All I know is that this is the Master of Amber, and it is a very cool addition to the lore. And finally, for who I would argue to be the most forgotten about, unknown elemental master in the entire franchise, is the first ever Master of Ice. Now, this guy wasn't revealed in any official media, unlike the previous 4 figures that we've looked at. This guy was revealed in a mini-series written by Tommy Andresen over on Twitter. Splinter in the Blind Man's Eye, I'm pretty sure it was. So we know this guy was the first ever Master of Ice. That, of course, makes him the, I think, 3rd Elemental Master, or one of 3 Elemental Masters where we've seen the first ever generation of them. The other 2, of course, being the first ever Master of Amber and Niad. So this guy, I think he built like an ice castle and he was a guardian of the first Spinjitzu Master or something like that. I have no idea really. And that even just shows, you know, someone like me who is a passionate, long-term, dedicated Ninjago fan who is obsessed with everything Ninjago related. Even I barely know anything about this guy. I didn't even know he existed until someone in my comments pointed him out, so thank you if that was you. For my custom figure of him, I used the legs and torso from Season 1 Woo, the face from Season 11 Woo, the beard from Unagami, the hair, I think, from Dumbledore, and then both the capes are from Star Wars. I don't know which minifigs. So yeah, this guy, pretty irrelevant. I don't know too much about him, but there may be more about him revealed in that Way of the Departed. Was it Way of the Departed or Splinter in the Blind Man's Eye? I think it was Splinter in the Blind Man's Eye. Yeah, these books are very confusing. I don't even know if that can be considered canon. I'm pretty sure it can be, and the wiki says it can be, so it must have been confirmed canon somewhere. But yeah, the story about this guy, you know, the knowledge of how you would even find out about him is just so messy and confusing, sort of. So I think that makes this guy the most forgotten about Elemental Master. And so there they are. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know how many of these Elemental Masters you knew before going into this. If you're, you know, a hardcore Ninjago fan, I'd assume you probably knew at least 3 or 4 of them maybe. But if you're only a surface level Ninjago fan, hopefully I have taught you something new in this video. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Bye!